I have to say, I've been kind of negative around the whole AI revolution. I said this to you. We can talk about it.
Jeremy, so psyched to have you.
Thank you, Nick. It's always a pleasure.
So this is kind of like, an ad lib, just a chat.
Mm-hmm.
We're both at the AI Networking Summit. You are an amazing MC.
Thank you. I like to talk. Maybe a little too much.
That was a very New York talk.
Oh, yeah, it was?
I like to talk.
Oh, yeah. East Coast, Mid-Atlantic, Jersey. Yep, definitely.
Yeah, but no, you were really, really good. It's like, you have a very kind of calming, inviting, entertaining, way about you on stage, and
I think that comes from being a musician. You got to read the crowd, you got to understand what they want and anticipate what's going to happen. And I think I definitely learned how to put a crowd in my hand and give them a good time. So,
you're good. I don't know how to do that. I usually just have like something. Okay, I need to like communicate this. Let me tell a story, about it. And just, tell the story, and hope that the crowd is going to like enjoy it or like it.
I understand.
I'm not very good at the adapting.
You'll get there. Don't worry. You've got plenty of time. Why don't we talk about our favorite things so far?
What's up?
Over the last 2 days.
All right.
Some of you go first. Tell me one of your top 3 things from the last 2 days.
It's always so hard to to answer that question because like we put so much. This is like the amount of planning that goes into like a 2-day thing. You would never know it. It's like if you knew it, then we would do a terrible job. I put a lot of weight on the morning keynotes of day one. Because I think like if we get day one wrong, and it's not good, then it's going to be an uphill battle. But if day one morning, like really like from like 9 to like 12 o'clock or so, goes really well, and people learn and they're like they're excited and they're pumped up about it, then it's actually then they'll stay longer, they'll interact more, and and
well, you hit it out of the park for day one.
So. Oh yeah, I think well that was my high point.
Yeah.
It was like I think we did a really good job on day one. Yeah.
I have to say, I've been kind of negative around the whole AI revolution. I said this to you. We can talk about it. I was on YouTube the other day, saw this commercial where you can download an AI app and build an entire album just on the computer, from vocals to backup vocals to every single instrument.
Yeah.
And that I have trouble with. Creativity is a wonderful thing for all of us, especially in today's day and age when you want to abstract yourself from all the noise in the world. So I have trouble with that. But, what I have been pleasantly surprised is to see some of these wonderful vendors who are taking what we talked about in fall.
Coffee talk.
Coffee talk. What we talked about in fall, Onug, and within a few short months, things are really coming to fruition.
Yeah.
To see the how do you say it, the network to code Natobot or
Natobot.
Yep.
Yeah.
To see that. Now, it's very obvious that some of these demos show a very small use case, which is great, a little pocket of the network. Maybe it's configuration management or something like that. And I think that's where we need to start, is very small in pockets of the network. But what I have noticed, and it makes me happy because of the company I work for and the job I do, is they still need to access the data that the customer has on-prem. So, these Natobots are great. And once they have access to really good, intelligent data, they can do wonders. But we, as you have been doing for years, we constantly evangelize the fact that data, collect the most data you can, do really good things with it from an analysis point of view. And then when you feed that to the engine or the AI agent, there's no question that it's going to give you the responses you expect.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think what I've been picking up in this meeting is that we don't want to move the data. So move AI to the data, right? And so because we've we've been kind of shipping the data, like I'm talking about kind of system logs, notifications, alerts, alarms, all of that stuff, which is a massive amount of data. Just as an example, like Intuit, they ship about 20 petabytes of data a year to their Splunk system. It's like a massive amount.
And can an AI agent scale with all that? Like if I ask an AI agent to give me the top talking interfaces, but I have hundreds of thousands, like telecom, hundreds of thousands of devices, and then more hundreds of thousands of interfaces on those devices, are they able to scale yet?
Well, not right now. We're just kind of starting this whole thing, but I think so. For example, there's a company called Insight Finder, and they'll be with us in New York. They're in probably mostly all the large financials. They have agents kind of buried within all like an application's dependency map. They have a controller, as well. So you have kind of like it's a kind of almost like a client server, kind of like architecture, and it interacts with kind of agents within the Knox in the box. So and that's mostly for incident response. So not like around the top talkers and capacity planning. I don't know, they might have modules for that, but I'm only mentioning them as an example, right? That there is an implementation. People, large companies are using it, and they were having some issue where there was a switch that was timing out, and so the application then would be it forced the application to make a lot more requests into a data lake. And it actually brought the data lake down, and so all of the users who were using the application, were getting not only poor service, they were getting disrupted, and no one can figure that out. Like, where in this system, so like, you had the triage team, you bring you bring storage people, you bring the application people, you bring the networking people, the security people, involved in it to try to like figure this stuff out. And so they put in this system, and they were able to kind of understand, oh, it's this switch. Was the root cause of it. So anyway, I guess the only thing I'm saying is that what I picked up here is that the days maybe of shipping data to some centralized location is probably limited, and we're probably going to start moving away from that. And these agents are going to be processing local data, having local knowledge, and then maybe peer knowledge as well. And so that's where, and that leverages the whole, ADA architecture, the MCP architecture, as well. So anyway,
wait, I got to say something funny. So you pinged me on how I said talk, and some of those words do come out that way, but it's a Northeast thing because I work with a lot of Northeast people. And when you say data, you add an R-E-R at the end, and I hear data. Oh, data. And I swear to you, I hear it from a lot Northeasterns, especially folks I work with out of Boston. I love it though; it's so funny.
It's not data.
Data. Data. Yeah. Well, listen, I want to tell you something because yes. I got some really good validation during my speaking session around the maturity model to get AI ready networks.
Yeah, you had a packed session.
I was really happy.
I think
about
that's the emceeing.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, kind of like that's right. I can do my own promos.
we got to go hang out with Jeremy. Yeah.
But what I noticed is, I did this maturity model where stage 1 through stage 5, and stage 1 is where we were 20, 30 years ago, where we're using MRTG and What's Up Gold, and we're just trying our best to collect what we can. And stage 2, you start consolidating tools, you start collecting more metrics, fault flow, performance, etc. Stage 3, you move all that from physical infrastructure to software defined, and now you're managing both. Stage 4 is where you take all that and you move that out into the unmanaged networks like ISP and cloud. Now you have this visibility of end-to-end client-to-cloud network path. And then 5 is to automate it all. So everyone loved it. Sounds like a good maturity model. But when I asked the audience where they felt they were currently, what stage, they were right between 2 and 3, which is trying to start monitoring software defined with their existing infrastructure. So they haven't even gone to visibility inside of ISP and clouds, and automation is just a pipe dream at the moment. So my point is, I believe we still need to get our house in order before we really start adopting these AI initiatives, because it'll make the AI smarter, right?
I totally agree with that. And, actually, But I'm so with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually discussion about that last year here in Dallas. It's like, hey, get rid of all these tools that you're not using. Clean up, your infrastructure, and then really focus on the tools that you really need, and then starting to focus around the data that you're collecting. So yeah, kind of getting ready for for AI.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think and I think the point that you're raising is more of a grounding point, and that, well, like the story that I just talked to you about the agents and everything else, that's happening very few places.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the vast majority of companies are really just starting their automation. So some of them have built their own rocket ships. So and I think most who have built their own rocket ships to do automation have failed miserably, or they're in the process of failing miserably. And like really large organizations. And so, or they chose to implement like an automation platform, from a third party. I think right now it's a little bit. I'd be a little bit. I'm not sure about hesitant. I would try to like use as many tools, automation tools as possible. But like this space is going to like change so rapidly, so fast. I guess if you're not really doing it now, then you're just going to be much further behind.
Yeah. And that's our, I see that as your and my job to evangelize of let's get ready. It's coming. And there's no doubt it's going to be productive for you to adopt this technology, but let's just get ready so we find more successes than failures.
Yeah.
And getting your house in order when it comes to network observability is a benefit to everyone in the IT department.
Yeah.
Did we talk, you may have to cut this, did we already discuss music and AI? Or was that before we started?
No. You mean in this very session?
Yeah. Before the mics went live and all that?
No.
All right, good.
No.
All right, before we go there, so I feel like I'm running the show. Sorry. I'm kind of a bull in a china shop here. What are you using AI for? And it could be your everyday, or it could be work. What are some of the use cases where you're actually getting productive with AI?
Okay, I use it for everything. When I'm cooking, so it's like
When you're cooking.
Yeah, a recipe. For that, like let's see, what was even from my keynote. All right, so this is a really good one. So actually, the way I did my keynote this year was very different. So I did these podcasts with Parent Tap over at eBay, Pablo over at IBM. It was Khalib at Graphiant. Who else was it? Helen Gu, and probably maybe one or two others. Anyway, so we did these podcasts, these hour-long discussions. And we touched on so many different topics and about really kind of where we are in the future, where we're going. I'm like, oh my God, let me take, a lot of these concepts that we were kicking around and roll that into the keynote. And so that's what I did. I kind of like did, Jeanette sent me the transcripts. I put the transcripts up into Grok, and I said, based upon these, I have 30 minutes, to do a presentation. Give me an outline. And so it spit out an outline.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good outline.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then I started tweaking it and working with it. And then what was really cool, I can just start asking, questions. Okay, well, really, what did Pablo mean by this? What was this concept about hairballing? About. And so it would dive into those transcripts, and pull out answers.
Wow.
So anyway, so I thought, that was a really, really great way to do the podcast. I'll do that. I mean, the keynote. I'll do that going forward. Every day, use like composing emails, checking local or not local news, checking news. So like yesterday we were in the conference. So I didn't know what happened to Starship 9 in that demo. So I basically, I went up to, I think I went to Grok for that one. So it was like, all right, what happened with Starship 9? So I use it, gardening.
Gardening?
I'm a big gardener. So it's like I have a really large vegetable garden. So Vegetable garden planning. Okay, these are the vegetables. They get certain heights. What's the spacing between them? What's the spacing between the rows? And if you got something of size, it becomes a multivariable problem, and so you can wing it, or you can do something a little bit more thought through. So
Yeah.
I basically
That's
used it for
great.
that.
That's great.
Yeah, so I use it really for everything.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have learned it's very helpful in a marketing position. So if I write, say, an abstract for a session I might do with you in the fall, hey, rewrite this in this type of tense, or more formal, or more casual, and everything it always spits out is usually wonderful. And then what John mentioned, Capobianco, about his agent that he's developing. If I have a white paper that I downloaded and I just need like a stat out of it that I want to put in a PowerPoint presentation instead of reading the whole PDF, we're kind of getting lazy, I guess, but I can ask for that stat and it'll pull it right out. I have been recently using it for illustrations and visuals. So I have a part-time gig where I support a nonprofit in Phoenix, and it's called Serve the Future. Look it up, Serve the Future. They're doing wonderful things for the youth in Phoenix. And I'm doing all their growth marketing. And I'll create a flyer. And then my boss said, I love it, but let's create 3 different versions so we don't keep posting the same one on LinkedIn. And I just said, hey, give me 3 different versions of this. And it spit out something great, Now, like we talked about before, creating music.
Yeah.
You
got a problem with that.
I got a problem with it. I
Yeah.
mean, listen, I've been in music all my life. I was a music major. I got an opera singer as a oldest daughter, really intensive music theory. And it takes time to build that craft. She's still building her voice. And if I could put a prompt in and get the same operatic voice for some track I'm laying down,
yeah,
where's the creativity? Where's just the oomph to be better at your craft? What do you think? I don't know. I sound like I'm 80 and I hate everything.
No, not really. It's like I don't know. I think the bottom line is, all right, I play a guitar, and so and I started playing later in life. I wasn't like I wish I was 16 years old when I started to play. But I think the value that I get from that is that it uses a totally different part of my brain to learn how to do chords, learn riffs, learn music theory, and then, the guitar and any instrument is very, very instructive. It tells you when you mess up really quick, there's no questioning, it. And so I think that's a really great learning process to kind of go through. And I think it helps you grow as a person. In terms of like it being a tool for creating lyrics or creating music, I don't know. I'm like, okay, hey, if that helps, go for it. But I think in terms of replacing, it might just be, hey, you have these other ideas and these concepts, and you want to expand upon them, so you use it. So actually, the way that I'll use some of the LLMs in music is like I'll ask, okay, well, how do I play the Jimi Hendrix chord? And so it'll give me kind of like a dot.
Okay, instead of like going on YouTube or something and looking at someone else teaching it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or I'll ask, okay, well, how does Bob Weir? What part of the neck does Bob Weir play these chords for this song? And it'll actually tell me.
You know what? I actually thought of another. Like, say I can't stretch my fingers when I do a transition from one chord to the next, or it's too far up, I can't get to it quickly enough. So where's another finger position I could hit with this next chord? I do like what you said. And you know what I really liked is the fact that, playing an instrument, I'm sure, creates new brain cells. I mean, it ignites that great thing in our brain when it comes to being artistic. And then building your ear. I mean, a good musician has a good ear. He can know when he's out of tune, like you said, or, that does not sound like a C major chord. It sounds like a C minor. And you don't get any of that from using AI. But, maybe like we said, when it comes to networking, you start off with small little use cases. And I just don't want to see someone write an album through AI and then start putting it on Apple Music and getting money. I mean... No. You can't tour. What are you going to tour with? A laptop?
Well, we were having this argument during the fall event. Somebody was saying that a DJ is an artist, just like a musician is an artist, and I can understand a little bit of their thinking there, because like DJs, you have DJs that sell out stadiums now, like they are popular, and they weave songs together, and that's their unique value prop, right?
Well, I think they are artists. I think they're in a different category of artists when it comes to music. But, if you can take 50,000 people in a stadium and give them a good time by doing what you love, that's a damn good art form.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So to me, it's almost like, okay, well then AI is like one other generation above that DJ. So you could have somebody up there with a laptop, or maybe it's just an AI agent.
Yeah.
A laptop, and it's reading the audience.
Yeah. We're probably going to get there one day.
And it's like changing the songs, based upon the audience. Yeah, I don't know, but so I'm not that. That doesn't bother me so much, because, obviously there's in the arts, AI has a big, will have a huge impact. Like what Google just announced last week, was it VEO 3? Like some of the, have you seen any of those videos that have come out?
I've used it. I tried to use them for our own virtual summit next week to build some commercials. They're only 8 seconds long.
Yeah.
Takes some time to get used to it, and I kind of ran out of time to really tweak it, but it was fun.
Yeah, I haven't used it yet. I tried, but then I had to like get a Flow account, and then I was like, oh, okay, I don't have enough time for this.
Yeah.
But I did consume like 2 of the videos. One was, I'm not sure if you saw it, but it was a kind of a bunch of stand-up comedians trying to convince themselves and the audience that they're not prompt. They were not generated from prompts.
We could be, though. Who knows? It is the Matrix. That's right.
That actually was pretty funny. And then the other one was a car show. So it was a total AI generated car show, and they're interviewing people, and it was just you could not tell the difference.
I just read something today,
really
a glass bridge in China. Somebody made a completely fake video of people walking across it and it collapsing.
Oh.
And it hit the news and everyone was going crazy, and whoever it was finally had to admit it's all fake. It's all fake.
Oh my God. It's like
guardrails. We need guardrails.
1984.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you like about the last 2 days? See, it's a hard question.
Yeah, well, I definitely, like I said, I definitely like the fact that folks are still trying to mature their observability practice, which is great. The hotel's wonderful. It's nice to have all this room to roam. And
it's more comfortable, too.
It really is.
It's like, all right, so this was like really all on me, because during the 90s, I traveled extensively for a decade. I would be in 3, maybe 4 cities a week for the decade, and the only time I wouldn't be traveling would be December and August for some reason. So I was in too many hotels, and I'm like, and I was doing kind of events like these, and I'm like, I'm not going to hotels. So anyway, that's why at Oneg we never really went to hotels until Bill said, okay, no, we have to go to Dallas. We need more space. We have to do it here. I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm actually loving it. It's like I get an elevator, go right up to my room.
It is nice to be that close. Instead of walk 10 blocks down, through Manhattan to get to your hotel.
It's like, I'm like, all right, okay. I think I've been wrong. The main stage area was phenomenal.
Oh, it's gorgeous. And I'm stealing that little, I hear you want it, but that AI networking summit glow.
The bar light?
I love it. You can have it. I won't steal it.
No, it's okay.
I'll say, also I wanted to say, this show is so different because, we all been to Cisco Lives and the big ass shows that are out there. And it's a lot of glitz and glamour and these booths that these vendors buy, 50, 70, $100,000 booths where everything's blinky, and it's a lot of lights, and it's hard to figure out where can I learn how to fix this, because I'm having trouble fixing this in my own business network, and maybe someone else is holding a session about it. Like right away, you need to talk to someone who's in your exact same position and learn from what they did. It's immediately available. It's just a wonderful practitioner show where you can come, get through all the fluff, and just learn what you need to do to improve from
Yeah.
other success stories out there. And that's what these shows should be about, is let me share my story with you, and I fixed it this way, or I'm adopting this, and we ran into these challenges, and this is how we overcame them, because we're all in the same position.
Yeah.
I mean, the network is a network is a network. We're all running networks. We're all using the same protocols. We all run into the same issues.
Yeah, I think, it's frankly what I get. We didn't do enough of it in the keynote sessions this time. I don't know why we didn't, but sometimes there's just a rhythm to things, and but having the audience questions, and so the questions that we were getting, really, they're so insightful because they really give you a pulse of where everyone is in the industry.
Yeah.
And what I got was that everyone is so at the same space of trying to figure this out, and so to your point, like learning from like your peers is huge, that's like really the best way to gain understanding and to accelerate, where you are, and when someone's doing something that's not working, okay, I'm not going there, and if they are working, okay, let's look at that,
It's funny because I remember you saying just a few years ago, we're all trying to figure it out, but we were talking about maybe cloud adoption or SaaS adoption, or SD this or SD that. Maybe one day we'll get over the hump and actually had a good grasp on all of our network connectivity.
I don't know, and maybe that's just really what we do. Maybe it's more like, okay, we're always like, if we were behind the curve, right, then it would be a pretty quiet conference, right? But like we're always a little bit, ahead. Hopefully,
that's good. Get people thinking.
Yeah, but they need to be going in that direction, and so. So hopefully, it's always going to be about, wow, they're still figuring this out because we're like one or two steps ahead, of them. Yeah.
Let me ask you, because this is my show. Let me ask you, what did you take away from the John Chambers session? And I'll say one real quick.
Oh.
The man must love football.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because he has like 18,000 footballs behind him. So
I was going to say something about that, but I didn't have enough time, on that. I think with John. That one is also really hard to pinpoint one thing. Maybe the one thing is just the way his brain works, and he's been through so many different kind of transitions before, and I think he was able to parlay that knowledge and share it with everyone about what we're doing right now and what this transition kind of means, and he spoke to it at multiple levels with at multiple angles. And like I said, like even like during the interviewing, it was like my brain was like on fire. Like I wanted to go in all these different directions, but I was constrained with time, so I couldn't. And then also too is that like we had gone through a flow of kind of the general discussion, and I didn't want to start jumping around because I thought, okay, I might confuse him, as well. So I wanted to try to like keep to the knitting, on it.
Well, I think that says the excitement of not only talking to him, but the topic. And, when you stick to the flow, you're kind of scripted and you feel locked in, but you want to kind of open it up and you're so excited about how the conversation's going. I totally agree. I walked away with, one, I'm really excited that, folks are very still interested in growing their network observability solution and are less apprehensive about adopting AI in small pockets.
Yeah.
Every customer I talk to has staff shortages. No one's graduating now that's going to be a network engineer. They're going into AI or data science or whatever it is. So I know many customers that are very short-staffed, and they have to have this. They have to have it to get their jobs done.
Yeah, I think what we're also picking up on this one, so looking into the registration data, is that the buyer is of infrastructure starting to shift more towards software engineers, data scientists, as well. I think they're looking at the full stack of what they have to do, and the infrastructure is part of that full stack, So I think there's a little bit of a shift there, and I think that maps into like you're thinking of that. It's not just a network engineer, but AI kind of engineer. So I think that was kind of insightful that we got from this. It's interesting. There are like there are little vignettes of presentations that kind of go through my head. One was Sean Finity's presentation, and I thought he did such a great job on kind of showing the flow of like InVision, build, test, production. There were like one or two other steps in there, and where AI kind of fits into it. So they've really gone through the thinking of, okay, how is this really going to impact like our workflow and our work product?
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. That was really well grounded, which is what you would expect, from Sean and from Merck. I thought Kevin was really good too, from NVIDIA. And I'm not sure, like, how you viewed that, but when I viewed it from a perspective that in our industry, especially around kind of networking and security, the vendor community has been building derivative products for like 30 years. Okay, we can do this now faster, we can do this cheaper, we got this new feature set, we can connect them all together a little bit differently. We had these new management interfaces. Oh, well, now they can connect you to the cloud. But it was all kind of derivative. I think what NVIDIA clearly did, is that they invested solely in AI. So even in the networking group, like they had a whole bunch of like campus products. They had like data center products beyond networking, beyond AI, and they basically end of life them and just focused on AI and the NVL, and how they connect GPUs together.
Wow.
And I think now, and all the technology that they had to develop for that is now, like if this is like NVIDIA and kind of the AI movement, and then we had kind of traditional enterprises kind of going in this direction, I think what's happening now is this. And so now I kind of viewed that talk as they are now the thought leaders.
Yeah.
They're the ones that we want to hear from, that around what is the direction, of our industry. I never got that until that presentation.
Yeah. And kudos to them. I mean, the stock price reflects their innovation.
Oh, it's crazy. It's like on the networking side, like yesterday's, they announced, results yesterday. What was it like, 5 billion for the quarter. So they're at like a 20 billion run rate.
Wow.
For the year. Like, that's what, half the size of Cisco.
Yeah.
Obviously it's nowhere near the size of Broadcom, they're big.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait to see as they advance their innovation what it's going to be doing. Especially around use cases that I heard a lot this last couple of days is healthcare use cases, right? How we can cure so many diseases and what it can do for maybe young children as they are learning in schools. It is exciting, and hopefully we just take our time and baby steps and fail fast and improve and learn from our challenges. And so, it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, I thought also like James Beeson, talking about the loneliness epidemic, and about, some of the AI tools that might be able to kind of assist, and help in there. I thought that was kind of interesting. But you're right though. The whole, human condition, and improving humanity aspects, of this technology. I thought we did a good job in New York on that. We touched on it a little bit here. We're going to go big on it again in New York. I think New York is going to be a lot about the trust part. It will be a lot of it about agentic, in New York, because we'll be much further along. But I think it's also going to be really big around trust, and
way to explain that, because that's like the biggest issue.
Yeah. So like, for example, like Daniel Conroy he's the CTO of Raytheon. He's going to give a talk on that. They were running tests. They were kind of running kind of just like, calculus equations and asking, the LLMs to solve them. And they would solve them, but they would get different answers every time. And it's like, all right, that ain't right. Right, math, you can't have multiple right answers. That's the beauty of math. You got one answer. So he's going to be talking, about just the responses that we're getting, and then what do we need to do as an industry to gain trust and improve trust.
I like that, and I mean, I would take a sidetrack to that as if you can rely on the data that you're collecting and feeding an AI agent or engine, you should have a little more trust in it. You know, if you curated the data and you can trust it a little more. I would hope.
I would hope. Yeah, for
definitely.
sure. Well, Jeremy, I think
it?
that's a good place to end.
All right, Nick, it was great having you on my show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks,
really.
Jeremy.
You got to go though. I have another guest coming. This was fun. Thanks,
Yeah,
bro.
it was great.
It's always
Thanks,
fun.
Jeremy.